And hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. As always, my name is Alexander Martonik, and I'm a lead on Esri's business services team. I specialize in commercial real estate, banking, and insurance, and what I do is I help our users set themselves apart in the marketplace and close bigger deals faster by creating powerful applications and custom narratives that really help them set themselves apart in this increasingly competitive landscape. I've been with Esri now for 2 years, prior to which I had experience in geographic information systems, information assurance, also known as cybersecurity, and finance. With that, I'd like to get started on a topic that I'm very passionate about, and that's looking at how technology has changed today's market and how we conduct business. So one of my favorite things to do is work alongside our users, one-on-one. And many of the people I work with, they started their careers in the 90s, 80s, 70s, and a good deal still the mid to late 60s. And what I see in these different generations are the different strategies they've used. But ultimately, what I've seen is that technology has disrupted the market by making it chaotic. It's increasingly competitive, more competitive now than ever before. And the reason for this is that the intuitive nature of technology has enabled smaller firms, 3 to 5 person organizations, to compete on a level that they hadn't been able to before. This is because now an individual with this technology has the ability to perform advanced spatial statistics and really run these site suitability models that were once monopolized by larger firms. And because of this, because there's so many different players now in the marketplace, because it's so chaotic, there's so much competition, really it's affected your stakeholders the most because they now have alternatives and options that they never had before. It's no longer enough just to have that relationship with your customer and have the right answer. You need to have something that sets yourself apart. Your customers are really looking for timely access to data, information, and you in a way that they didn't before. It's more demanding, and you as a professional can't be everything to everyone at all times. You have multiple clients that you're working with. So we at Esri believe that the way to get through this and the way to be successful and set yourself apart in the marketplace is by making business personal. And I don't just mean being personally invested in your success. What I mean by this is making it personal for your customers, for your stakeholders. And this ultimately boils down to understanding your client's need. Now, every customer you work with has a different list of wants and needs, and no two companies are the same. In fact, you can be dealing with a repeat customer who is a franchise owner, and they're looking to expand and grow their influence. So they're opening up a second or a third location. And while it's the same person in the same business, they may have vastly different qualifications for these sites. They may be under some type of contractual obligation with the corporate franchise to open up within certain parameters. They may have a non-compete clause with another trade area and another franchise owner. And really what you need to do is have the ability to access multiple sources of information and data. So what we at Esri have done is we've created a way for you to access data sets from government and private organizations on demand. The data is included. And this gives you the ability to integrate demographics, consumer behavior, and economic development plans with the sites so you can identify accurate market indicators that align with your customers' needs. Ultimately, what our goal is for you to know and fulfill what your customer wants before they even really know it. The second part of this for making business personal is sharing information in a way that is better and faster than your competition. And one of the ways we like to do this is by telling stories. Now, I don't mean this in the once upon a time type of narrative. I mean being able to holistically describe all the variables, all the components that make a site valuable. So you can have the right site. You can run the statistical models to show that this site is perfect for your customer, but it's worthless unless you're able to effectively communicate that value to your stakeholders and convince them that the investment is worthwhile. So what your customers are going to do is they're going to quickly learn to rely on people who provide them with the best information. So if you can do this faster and better than your competitors, your success rate is guaranteed. So what we in Esri have done is enabled a way for you to leverage location-based information through intuitive maps and applications. This way you can provide your clients with the data they can't find themselves. And since you have the answers that nobody else can provide and that they can't find themselves, making business personal, you become an invaluable part of their business. You become basically their strategic partner in this. And the reason this is so important is that we're operating in this digital world. Agility is key now to outpace your competition. And within real estate, the data is everywhere. We've heard location, location, location. But within agility, what you need is a way to collect and process and share information faster and better than ever before, anywhere, anytime, from any device. And what I mean by this is the ability to take a photo of a site on your cell phone, enter in the notes, have that run through your models automatically, and come out almost instantly in an application that you've developed for your customers. All of this without any type of coding experience needed. Since I've worked with many professionals that are established in their careers, they started in the 70s, they knew technology differently. Everything we're going to be showing today is done in a web browser. There's no installation needed. There's no configuring options on your PC or Mac. This is all done in a web browser, subscription-based. The data is available once you come in. You can work with the data that you have now, whether it's in spreadsheets or databases, all of this so you can really work anywhere, anytime, from any device. But one other component of telling this story is the ability to understand an area better than your competition. So one of the things that we've developed is called Tapestry segmentation. We believe that understanding hyperlocal behavior is the key to success now in this digital age. Consumers now have such different wants and needs than they did 10 years ago, and it's quickly changing. You may see different fads come in and out. You can look at the sharing economy. You can look at the gig economy. Organizations like Uber that just seem to spontaneously come up and become major market players. All this can be described with consumer behavior. So Tapestry segments are unique personas. We've created 67 unique personas that go just beyond static statistics and basic figures to really look into who are the people in this area, how do they behave, and we want to describe these prevailing traits, these trends, these behaviors. So imagine walking into your customer, you have the site ready, and you say, in this particular area, the people that live there are between the ages of 24 to 35. 40% of them are college educated, and they have a median income of $68,000. Now that's good. You've given them some type of basis of that area, and they can start to try to interpret what that means to them. Now imagine going to that same conversation to say, this is a very young area. In this area, the people are between 24 to 35. They have most of them are college educated, and their median income is $68,000. But did you know that this group of people are more likely to spend money on a cup of coffee in the morning than a full meal? In fact, did you know that this group is 4 times more likely to purchase a cup of coffee of $4 or more than in any of the surrounding areas in any 10-mile driving radius? This area is younger. It's what we call a metro renter. What the metro renters are, it's young individuals with technical jobs, and did you know that they're more likely to spend money on consumer electronics? Now what I mean by that, I don't mean large flat screen televisions. I mean consumer electronics for internet access, for social media, for shopping online, cell phones, tablets, laptops, and now you see this is a vastly different conversation. Whereas before you were just saying, this is the type of person in this area, you are on your own to interpret whether or not this is right, whereas now you understand these behaviors. And the Tapestry segmentation, these data sets from both state, local, national, and private organizations, all of this comes in what we're going to be showing today for ArcGIS Online and Business Analysts. So with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Dennis Kaplan. Dennis is a solutions engineer here at Esri. He works with our commercial real estate users. Dennis has been with us now for over 15 years, and what we're going to be showing you is site suitability analysis, how to configure intuitive web maps for your customers, and how to create these powerful applications. So with that, Dennis, I'd like to hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Alexander. So thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. During this demonstration, I'll be showing basically how Business Analyst Web, Business Analyst Online, or Business Analyst Web it's a true client to ArcGIS, our ArcGIS Online system. I will be going from Business Analyst Web to ArcGIS Online's web map. I'll be doing analysis in both systems. Basically, I want to end up with an Excel scoring model as well as a web application to enable spatial and demographic visualization of the results. This is what I've noticed in the past. I've noticed that in the past few years, these big box health club gyms, you may know them, Gold's Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, Lifetime Fitness, they may be losing out to these smaller boutique facilities, usually located in your local strip mall. In contrast, where Home Depot and Lowe's are king and home improvement big box stores, when it comes to fitness, my age group or Alexander's age group, we may be looking for something different. So recently I had a friend introduce me to a place called Cycle Clubs, and it's an indoor cycling class. It's located in the strip mall near my house. You get in, you get it done, and you get it out. It's really nice. So what I thought, would be interesting in the next few minutes is, walk everyone through how I ranked a set of open and coming soon Cycle Club locations based off their address. I'm interested to see how these stores rank to one another as well as their competitive landscape for some opening soon locations. So basically I'm starting with this Excel spreadsheet here. Basically it's just their addresses here. And you can see, I have the status here and some of them are opening soon. So this is a great file to bring into Business Analyst Web to start doing some analysis with it. And basically what I want to do is I'm going to go to Business Analyst Web and I'm going to go into a project that I've created. So basically we're going to open up this project here. And in this project I want to be able to add that data basically to my project and start working with it to basically create that scoring model. So we're going to go add data, and what's nice is you can just import a file here, browse to the location, and then add the locations to the map by importing it. You can do address, so basically you can geocode the addresses if you want to using the address, or you can use the latitude, longitude if you have those already for the file. We can symbolize the data any way that you want. You can choose any type of image, or any type of symbol you want for the locations, or if you have custom symbols, there's all kinds of different symbols you can create for the location, and then as well as which field you want to be for the name. And what I like about this too is you can click next and basically save the locations into your content to be used for further analysis. And when I save these locations, when I was talking about how Business Analyst Web is a client to ArcGIS Online, this data gets saved automatically to ArcGIS Online, and I'll be showing ArcGIS Online a little bit later and how this data works within there. But right now what I want to do is take this data here and start running some analysis with it. And I'm going to be creating a site suitability model or a scoring model based off of these 89 locations. And we're going to use the items on the map here. So this is pretty exciting. I'm going to take 89 locations. I'm going to do drive time trade area. So how far can I drive from each location in 15 minutes? Most people will drive about 15 minutes to go to a gym or a small, strip mall kind of location, and click apply. Now, Alexander, you were talking about in 90s and 1990s and early 2000s where running 89 drive times this fast was unheard of on a desktop, let alone in an online system. So I think that's pretty powerful. Let me zoom in just to show you, the drive times around the Dallas metro area. So what I want to do is I want to take these 89 drive times and basically rank them off a set of variables. Basically, we have a site suitability tool inside of this Business Analyst Web product that lets you do this. So when I point to the variables that I want to use for ranking, I can, go to population and, choose 2021 population and browse to all the data, but it's nice you can save a set of variables in here. And I saved a set of variables that I thought pertain to, a successful Cycle Club location. So we have 2021 median age. I want to know the daytime population around the location. People that exercise, tend to go to spin classes. Maybe someone that owns a cycle or already owns a stationary bike and the median household income. So I'm going to take all of this data and click apply. And now what it's doing, it's apportioning all the data to those 15-minute drive times and then basically weighting them or creating a scoring model off of them. So what do I mean by that? If I view the results here, you can see if I look at the final score, that Culver City ranked to the top here. It's the final score, the value of median age, how it's scored and weighted, daytime population, and across the board for the different variables that we chose. But I want to tweak this a little bit because this is a weighting that we can put for each variable. So I want to say, I think most people that exercise, maybe they're going to the big box gyms and they want to try something different. I'm going to try to update, or I'm going to increase the percentage of the value or the weight for exercise at the gym 2 days a week. And it changes that to now this Culver City location is about 73% based or propensity to be the top location based off the variables, where we go down the line where there's other locations. So what we did here is we created a weighting or scoring model off of the locations that I brought in here for the Cycle Club locations. But what I also want to do is process some information about the competitive landscape around a few of the locations as well. So, before I do that, I want to basically take these results, export these results out to another layer so we can basically save this information into Business Analyst Web's, ArcGIS Online's environment in the background, because basically when I'm running all this information is getting stored in ArcGIS Online in the background, and we'll be getting to that in a minute. Well, let me go do the competitive landscape information. So I know if two of the locations that I'm looking at, or the one location that I know that's coming soon is this location in Thousand Oaks. So I'm just going to kind of manually go into this location here. And what I want to do is I want to bring in some competitors in the area. I can search for businesses and facilities using this tool, or what I can do is I can come in here and search businesses and facilities using this tool here. I like this one here a little bit better to bring in competitive locations because there's some more options that I can do. I mean, I can type in Starbucks or Home Depot or 24-hour fitness. But what I want to do is I want to get more of like just gyms or health clubs. Excuse me. I can do this a little differently by searching what's called the SIC code directory or the NAICS codes. And these are classification codes that are put to businesses to help classify them. So if I don't know the SIC code for health clubs, I can come in here and type in health clubs or gyms and get the SIC code for that. I know the SIC code from searching it is 7991, the 4-digit code, and then I can search for those locations within this map here, and I get all those businesses that are with that code. So here we got Orange Theory, another small boutique gym, 24-hour fitness, other gyms in the area. I can click next and basically symbolize the data that I want and then bring it into the system. Or what I can do is let me go back here and back, and then we go to the other location in Chicago and process that data too. I can type in Chicago up here, but I'm just kind of, manually going in here. And I just happen to know that these locations are coming soon, and I'll show you how I know that stuff as well too when we get into the other mapping software. Let me go back here, reset the filters. 7991, click go, and basically process the data for this location here. And the same thing here, you can just basically click go and it retrieves the data. You have the ability to give it a certain symbol, map it a different way that you want. You can even export this file out to Excel if you want to. But what's been happening is while I've been running that scoring model, I've been running competitive locations, I've been bringing the Cycle Club locations into the map, all this data is basically getting saved into a project. So let me show you what that looks like here. Sorry, go back to the map here. And while it's getting saved to a project, I wanted to show you basically this concept here is as Business Analyst Web works off of this concept of project. So I'm going to switch to this project here. And each project basically, going back to what we've been talking about is how our Business Analyst Web is connected to, or a client to ArcGIS Online. Each project is basically a group in ArcGIS Online, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. So let me zoom. I'm just trying to get out to the US level here. So while I was switching over here to this project here, this is basically the data that's been being processed into this project manager. And all of this data here, so this is the Cycle Club locations, the Chicago competitors, even the trade areas, all of that data has been saved into basically your home ArcGIS Online page that your Business Analyst Web account is being basically based off of. And in the groups here, you'll see the groups that look really familiar. So here's the webinar we did in February, here's the one we're doing right now, and here's the one, the real estate site selection one. You can see we're getting ready for our users conference, so we're building demonstrations for that. So if I click into this group, you'll see all the information that's been being processed and saved to this group. And I like to point this out to users here is all kinds of stuff gets saved into, or information gets saved to ArcGIS Online. And you basically have to read what it is to know what type of information it is. So these are the feature layers that get stored or get processed from ArcGIS Online. This is an application, something you may want to share someone with. This is basically our web map, basically our mapping creation area. So this is the data, this is the map, this is the results or the application. I'll open this up here, and this is basically pretty raw. This is what gets processed from Business Analyst Web when we were doing, when I was bringing in those points, running this, the trade areas, bringing in the competitors. This is what it looks like here. Kind of stubs out all this information here to, and I'll show you a little bit later how you clean all this information up and made it more, customer ready, if you can say that. So these top layers here, there's basically nothing in them right now. Here's my trade areas. Here's my competition. And then here's the points right here. So if I turn this off, you got the points. You can kind of see the trade areas here. What I want to do with this trade area data is basically append another set of variable or set another variable to the end of the 15-minute drive time. What I did in the beginning is I appended demographics, volumetric data, total daytime population, median age, things that are volumetric. But what I want to do is append another variable to then. I want to know the dominant Tapestry name or segment for each 15-minute drive time. This will help us for the marketing tactics. It'll basically, we know the demographics, but the Thousand Oaks location may be of a certain type, and then the Chicago location might be of a different type. So in this web map environment, you're able to do what's called basically analysis. So I can hit the analysis button here. It's called data enrichment. It looks pretty familiar to you, or this environment, the variables here, look pretty familiar to you because it's pretty much the same data, or it is the same data that was in Business Analyst Web. So I'm going to type in dominant here, and I'm going to add the dominant Tapestry segment name to each one of these trade areas. And this takes about a minute to run, so I didn't want to, basically I've already cooked it for you guys. So I'll show you the results in a second. But to be able to run analysis in this web map for a batch process of 89 locations is really powerful. And I'll show you the results in a second here. And sorry about being on Canada there, I didn't realize that. Another bit of analysis that I want to run though is let me zoom in, because that makes more sense when I zoom in. I want to take these trade areas, and I want to take the data for these trade areas, and I basically want to join them to the actual point. So this point layer here, if I click on this point layer, it has this data that's associated with it. I want to take this data and append the demographics to it. So what I love is recently we introduced a tool that is pretty powerful. It's basically just to be able to join data. I want to basically summarize data, but I want to join the point data to the trade area data with a simple join. So what I want to do is I want to take the locations and the trade areas, and I want to choose the fields that match. So it's basically, it's your basic database join. We can do it based off spatial location if we didn't have that relationship by the attributes, but here we have a pretty good, the location name and the site name are the same, so I know it's going to join up perfectly and be able to join the data up to give me the results, which I'm going to show you in a second here. So once I do all that and I clean up the table and the data, I ended up with a web map looking like this. It's kind of like the cooking show where I baked the information and I took it out of the oven here. But what I did here is I basically renamed the layers. Everything here is, a left click to rename the layers. I configured the pop-ups. So basically when you click on the point, it shows a location name. I configure the attributes to say, hey, I only want to show certain fields. So I'll scroll down here, I just show the fields that I want to show. I also went pretty far to add this really nice, I'll show you how this works in a second, but a fun click off, or you click on this image and it'll show and open up basically the Tapestry segment, or basically the marketing information. I'll show you how that works in a second. But basically here's a link, and then here's the segment number here. So basically I also made sure certain items didn't turn on until I zoom into a certain level. So these are all just like pretty fun, usabilities or cartographic tools that you can do in here to create your web map. So set the visibility range, set the transparency. All of this stuff makes for a really compelling story when you want to take this map here, and then what you can do with this map is basically, I'm going to say edit the presentation, but you can create a presentation out of this map. So basically you're creating a slideshow out of this map. And you can edit these slides and enable this slide deck to be opened up on any app. And so basically you can tell a story. This can open up really easily on our mobile Explorer app, or obviously in a browser here. So here's our Cycle Club locations. Here's our Thousand Oaks location opening up soon. You know, hey, there's some big box gyms right next to this location. There's a Spectrum, and then there's a 24-hour fitness. And this is just the data that comes with the info group data. Next, you know, here's the attributes for this particular location with those custom pop-ups that I created. But then here, this is interesting. So this location, dominant Tapestry segment, is savvy suburbanites. And at Esri, we create these really nice marketing pieces to help you really hone in your marketing efforts for that particular location. So around this location, the median age is 44. The average household income is, you know, $104,000 a year. If you scroll down, there's tons of great information in here for what a savvy suburbanite is. Likewise, you know, we go to this store, but then let's go to the next location, the Chicago location. This location has more smaller niche gyms around there just because it's, you know, more populated, I'm presuming. But then if you look at the data for this location, median age is 33. Household income's a little bit lower. I go to the Tapestry segment, which now is Metro renters. Totally different than savvy suburbanites. So here's a Metro renter. It's a different market, a different marketing tactic. So, I mean, this is pretty exciting. I went in and had a file of locations for gyms at strip malls. And I basically ranked those locations in Business Analyst Web. I needed to add some more data into them using some enrichment techniques in the web map. And then I exported it out and made a presentation out of it. But I also created basically a really nice Excel file. Basically, I took those points in the web map, exported them out, you know, just really easy, just right-click, it says export, and then made a nice spreadsheet out of this information. So this is basically the ranking that came out of the site suitability model, and then where did the coming soon locations fall? And then I think what's really interesting is you scroll all the way over. Sorry, we got dizzy there scrolling too fast, but you scroll all the way over, and you see, look at the different Tapestry segments for each location. Metro renters, there's that savvy suburbanites, Bloombergs. I think it's really interesting to see the different segments that you get. And then what would be hugely interesting is to have, you know, the actual metrics for the actual locations that we're studying here. I mean, imagine if you had, you know, how many people are signed up, how many people are not signed up, how many times people come a week. You know, I mean, imagine if you were the owner of this franchise and you did something like this with the actual metrics. You have a pretty powerful model from a web application that you ran some analytics from. So with that, I want to turn it back to Alexander and say thank you, and hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something.
And thank you very much, Dennis. And, you know, there's a few things you said that I think are worth noting. When you were going through the analysis and you looked at the Culver City location, you mentioned the I happen to know. And this is, I believe, one of the most powerful aspects of the technology. And that's, although technology is disrupting the market and making it more competitive, it alone will not be enough to be successful. You still have to utilize your conventional wisdom, your traditional market knowledge. But by combining these two, you become a market force. And this reminds me of back in October. I was working with a gentleman. He was in his early 70s. He was just recently coming into GIS. He had only been working for about 6 months with the software, and I was running a training course on business analyst. And he took to it quickly. He was going around on his cell phone showing the different analyses that he had performed and showing off to the people he had mentored that, you know, he was a manager to younger people from Gen X and millennials. And he came to me and he said, I always knew what I wanted to say, I just didn't have the ability to. And that's where I think is powerful here, is combining that intuitive market knowledge. Dennis, the other thing you highlighted, the second point was this is a subscription base where you have everything available when you start up. This is on a global scale. So if you do any type of business in Canada, Mexico, or Europe, we have data sets from, again, both private and public organizations ready to go. And I think it's wonderful how you took this spreadsheet, put it in, did the analysis, and then at the end you have, again, a spreadsheet for those who need that format. So this is wonderful. So with that, let's start looking at these questions that are coming in.
And then the questions I see about the demographics that Esri has to offer, probably type it in here. I'll just put the URL in the chat maybe. But basically, it's there's an Esri demographics. If you Google it, it'll come to our site, and there's such a great page where you can see all of the countries that we have, all our data sources. It's a really good location to find about what Esri data, what data Esri has to offer.
Developing the various Tapestry segments and definitions. We have a team here of demographers, people who specialize in these kind of consumer behaviors. We update these annually to go through and look at these behaviors. We have partnership with several private and public organizations to really come down to the science. The documentation's there as well. Oh yes, so I see here a question, and we do love beginner questions as well. So the question is, if the layers are only available to you or to ArcGIS Online, if it's public-private. So the data, first and foremost, is your data when it comes into it. If you create any type of layers or applications, by default, it is not shared publicly. Now you have three options. You can either leave it as a private layer or application, so it's only accessible to yourself. You can share it within a ArcGIS Online organization. So these are your colleagues within an organization. You can choose which groups within that organization to share it to or share it organization-wide, or you can make it public. So it ultimately depends on what you're producing and who you're producing it for. I have seen instances too where companies have had a extra license they use for customers, and they'll once you issue a license on your organization account, you can also take it away for a user, so that they'll just pick their key customers, give them access after the deal. They remove the access and give it to someone else, so they can privately share applications just to that user. But yes, first and foremost, it's kept internal to you until you say otherwise that you'd like to be sharing it out. And then Dennis, we have a question here about exporting data into vector format. Would you like to discuss that?
So the data, when I did the competitor information, or that is vector data, I mean the points. But sometimes, and then when I did the trade areas, that's exported as a vector polygon or trade area boundary. But sometimes users want to export the raw data. They want to get the zip codes for San Diego County. That, I think you can probably do like 25 records at a time, I think. So there's no way to get the raw data out of Business Analyst Web. That's when you start moving into more of the desktop solution. But most of the stuff that you process, such as trade areas, points, get processed to that Business Analyst or the ArcGIS Online environment.
Yes, I also see a question here about the subscription and what this runs. And I will get you in touch with our implementation team to discuss the various aspects of it. There is a flat fee that you do pay. We have various models now for organizations and individuals for business analysts. ArcGIS Online is addition to that. So I'll get you in touch with one of our implementation specialists, and they can also discuss with you the types of data available for Mexico. Unfortunately, I do not have a specific list in front of me, but that's one of the beautiful things about ArcGIS Online is it is also a community. So when I say it's public and private data shared, many organizations share out their data, states and local governments also do as well. So you have a wide array of data from various sources that you can work with. And one other thing too, I do see site to do business in that question, and we always love when we have our partners CCIM over. We do various trainings with CCIM, and we have previous webinars that I'm happy to send to you. Also, I'll get you in touch with one of our contacts who works closely with within your organization. And this is a great plug as well, as I see here. For anyone attending the ICSC Recon Convention this weekend, this was kind of a sneak peek of what we're going to be doing for that. Esri has a booth presence there. We're going to be in the North Hall, booth 1822, so that's November 1822. Come check out what we have to offer. We're going to be having demonstrations and presentations from both real estate and retail. You'll get to meet us personally, and we'll also have some stuff to discuss too for drones in 3D, which is also the topic for our next webinar in late June. Will be drones in 3D. I see a question here that was similar to the one about data available in Mexico. This is data available within Dubai and United Arab Emirates. I'll get you in touch as well with our implementation team. So Esri, we have a national organization. We have a global network as well. So I'll have someone from that global team reach out to discuss some of the things that other organizations within UAE have done. Thank you again for joining us. And Dennis, thank you very much for your presentation.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, also thank you everybody for joining us today.
Have a great day. Goodbye.